The sun mercilessly beat down on the irregular cobblestone streets of Millbrook, a historic town on the coastal region. Among the colonial buildings and tourist-oriented shops, the newly inaugurated boutique Elegance stood out, an establishment that contrasted with the local architecture, with its modern facade and impeccably decorated windows. It was the talk of the moment among local residents and visitors frequenting that preserved part of the town. Emily Taylor drove her pickup truck with a calmness that contrasted with the city's urgency. At 45, her face bore marks of a life spent under the sun, caring for her coffee farm in the region's mountains. Her brown hair, usually tied in a simple bun, was today covered by a faded scarf she always wore when coming to town. Her calloused hands gripped the steering wheel firmly as she hummed a song her father had taught her in childhood. She then stopped, contemplative, capturing an elegant advertisement in the boutique's window. Clothes for special occasions. Emily paused, her eyes fixed on the display. 2 weeks from now, the 30th anniversary celebration of the Regional Coffee Producers Association would take place, an important event where she, as one of the largest local producers, could not be absent. Perhaps it was time to invest in something beyond the simple dresses she usually wore. With sudden determination, Emily adjusted the scarf on her head and pushed open the glass door of the boutique. The interior was even more impressive. Gleaming, marble floor, strategically positioned mirrors, and metal racks displaying clothes that seemed to have come directly from the fashion magazines she occasionally browsed at the beauty salon. A delicate bell announced her entrance, and she immediately felt the refreshing air conditioning contrast with the suffocating heat outside. Emily took a deep breath, suddenly feeling out of place in this perfumed and immaculate environment. Her dusty boots left subtle marks on the impeccable floor. From the service counter, 2 saleswomen observed her with expressions oscillating between surprise and disapproval. The younger one, a woman of approximately 30 years, with perfectly straightened blonde hair and impeccable red lipstick, leaned in to whisper something in her colleague's ear. Muffled giggles echoed through the empty store. "Can I help you?" asked the blonde saleswoman, approaching with elegant steps and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm looking for a dress for an event," Emily responded, trying to ignore the evaluative look the saleswoman was casting on her simple clothes and dusty boots. The saleswoman, whose name tag identified her as Ashley Williams, raised a perfectly outlined eyebrow. "What type of event?" she questioned, her tone bordering on condescending. "A formal celebration. The Coffee Producers Association is completing 30 years and I'm afraid we don't have anything suitable for your profile," interrupted Ashley, casting a significant look at her colleague, who was now approaching. "Our store specializes in high fashion for sophisticated events." The second saleswoman, a middle-aged woman with brown hair tied in a perfect bun and impeccable makeup, stopped beside Ashley. Her name tag indicated Brooke Johnson. "Perhaps you're looking for the department store in the shopping center in the neighboring city," suggested Brooke with an artificial smile. "They have more accessible options." Emily felt her face heat up, but maintained her composure. She had faced prejudices before, especially when she took over the family business after her father's passing, in a sector predominantly male. "I'm just looking," she responded calmly, refusing to demonstrate how this treatment affected. "Of course," retorted Ashley with a false smile. "Feel free, but I must warn you that our prices start at $5,000 for the simplest pieces." Emily nodded without responding and walked between the racks, feeling the saleswomen's gazes on her back. She could hear the whispers and poorly disguised giggles while examining an elegant navy blue dress. "Be careful with your hands," warned Brooke when Emily touched the delicate fabric. "This piece is Italian silk." It was the last straw. With dignity, Emily moved away from the dress and headed toward the door. "Thank you for your time," she said simply, maintaining a firm voice despite the lump in her throat. "Come back always," exclaimed Ashley with false cordiality, followed by another wave of giggles when the door closed. Outside, Emily took a deep breath, trying to calm her accelerated heart. It wasn't the first time she had faced prejudice because of her simple appearance, but it still hurt. For a moment she stood on the sidewalk, observing the elegant storefront and feeling a mixture of humiliation and anger. It was then that she spotted, across the street, the discreet office with the sign Ethan Richards, business consultant. A sudden thought crossed her mind. Without hesitating, she crossed the street and pushed the office door. A professional-looking secretary raised her eyes. "Can I help you?" "I need to speak with Mr. Richards," Emily responded with renewed determination. "It's about a business opportunity." What the saleswomen of the Elegance boutique didn't know is that Emily Taylor was not just a simple farmer. She was the owner of one of the largest special coffee farms in the region, a supplier to international markets and responsible for a considerable patrimony. And now, something had awakened inside her. Something that would forever change the destiny of that elegant boutique. Ethan Richards' office was as elegant as it was discreet. Dark wood furniture contrasted with light-colored walls, creating a sophisticated and welcoming environment at the same time. Ethan himself, a man in his early 40s with grey hair at the temples and perceptive eyes behind thin-framed glasses, stood up to receive Emily as soon as she was announced by the secretary. "Mrs. Taylor, what a pleasant surprise," he greeted her, extending his hand. "I didn't expect to see you before our meeting at the association." Emily shook his hand firmly. She had known Ethan for years, since he arrived in the region to advise coffee producers on exports. Unlike the boutique saleswomen, he had always treated her with respect, regardless of how she was dressed. "I need your help, Ethan," she said without roundabout ways, while sitting in the offered chair. "It's a slightly different matter than usual." In the following 30 minutes, Emily recounted what had just happened at the boutique. Her voice remained calm, but her eyes betrayed the hurt she felt. When she finished, Ethan observed her with a thoughtful expression. "I understand your feeling," he commented, adjusting his glasses. "But what exactly do you have in mind?" Emily leaned forward, determination in her gaze. "I want to buy that boutique." Ethan blinked a few times, surprised, but soon a comprehending smile appeared on his face. "Well, that would certainly be quite a lesson," he agreed. "I'll check the establishment's situation. If I remember correctly, Elegance belongs to an investment group from São Paulo that has been buying several commercial points in Millbrook in recent years." In the days that followed, Ethan worked tirelessly. He discovered that the boutique, despite its apparent luxury, was facing financial difficulties. The privileged location in the historic center meant an exorbitant rent, and sales did not meet the investors' expectations. The group was already considering selling the spot, especially after the impact of the below-expected tourist season. A week after the incident, Emily was driving to São Paulo in her personal car, not the farm truck. She wore a pantsuit that, although not designer, demonstrated elegance and good taste. Beside her on the passenger seat, a folder contained all the necessary documentation. The meeting with the investment group representatives was brief and objective. Emily's offer was generous considering the boutique's financial circumstances. At the end, handshakes were exchanged and contracts signed. The Elegance now officially belonged to Emily Taylor. Back in Millbrook, she dedicated the following days to preparations for her return to the boutique. This time it would be different. On the planned morning, Emily woke up before dawn. She took a long, perfumed shower, something rare in her busy farm routine. She carefully dried her hair, which today would not be hidden under a scarf, but loose in soft waves framing her face. Her makeup was light, just enough to enhance her natural features. From the closet, she retrieved a dress she had kept for special occasions, an elegant model in a deep blue tone that valued her silhouette without being overly formal. She completed the look with a pair of medium-heeled shoes, comfortable and sophisticated. In the mirror, Emily, different from the day-to-day farmer, looked back at her. At 10 o'clock sharp, her car parked in front of the boutique. Through the glass door, she could see that Ashley and Brooke were already in place, arranging some pieces on the racks. With Ethan by her side, carrying the folder with documents, Emily took a deep breath and pushed the door. The bell announced her entrance, and Ashley raised her eyes, preparing to greet the client. Recognition was not immediate. The transformation was significant, but when she realized who had just entered, Her smile froze on her face. Brooke, emerging from the stockroom with some pieces, also stopped when she saw Emily. Unlike Ashley, she instantly recognized the farmer, and an expression of discomfort took her face. "Good morning, ladies," Emily greeted with a serene smile. Good. "Morning," Ashley responded, recovering from the initial shock. Her eyes scanned Emily from top to bottom, evaluating her transformed appearance. "Can I help you today?" The tone was completely different from the previous visit. Now there was a forced respect, motivated by Emily's careful appearance and Ethan's elegant presence by her side. "Actually, yes," Emily responded, maintaining the smile. "I'm here to make some changes." Ashley frowned, confused. "I'm sorry, I don't understand. Are you looking for a specific piece?" "Not exactly," Ethan intervened, opening the folder and removing a document. "Mrs. Taylor is the new owner of the Elegance Boutique, effective as of yesterday." The silence that followed was dense. Ashley's face visibly paled, while Brooke brought her hand to her mouth in shock. The pieces she was holding almost slipped from her arms. "Is this some kind of joke?" Ashley finally asked, her voice trembling. In response, Ethan extended the documents. Ashley took them with unsteady hands, her eyes quickly scanning the clauses and signatures. Brooke approached to read over her colleague's shoulder, her face growing paler. "But how?" Brooke stammered, looking at Emily with a mixture of fear and disbelief. "I'm the owner of Aurora Farm," Emily explained calmly. "We export specialty coffee to more than 20 countries. The boutique seemed like an interesting investment." The saleswoman's eyes widened even more. Aurora Farm was famous in the region, known for its internationally awarded coffee and high market value. Suddenly, the farmer in simple clothes and dusty boots gained a completely new dimension. A man of approximately 50 emerged from the office in the back of the store, attracted by the conversation. His name tag identified him as Kevin Thompson. "Manager?" "What's happening here?" Emily asked, looking from Ashley to Brooke and then to the visitors. Ethan stepped forward, extending his hand. "Ethan Richards, business consultant. This is Emily Taylor, the new owner of the boutique. The documents have already been properly registered and the bank transfers completed." The manager turned as pale as his employees. He took the documents from Ashley's hands and examined them, meticulously as if searching for an error, some loophole that would make this a farce. "But this is irregular," he protested. "No one informed me about a sale. Your superiors in São Paulo were duly informed and consented to the transaction," Ethan clarified, with professional firmness. "If you want, you can call to confirm. The number is at the bottom of the document." Kevin swallowed hard. His eyes scanned the contract again, stopping at the CEO's signature, a signature he knew well. "So, you're our new boss?" he asked, finally addressing Emily. "Exactly," she confirmed with a calm smile. "And I have some plans for the boutique that I'd like to discuss." Facing the apprehensive looks of the three employees, Emily walked through the boutique salon with secure steps, carefully observing every detail of the establishment that now belonged to her. "First," she announced, turning to face Ashley and Brooke, "we're going to establish a new customer service policy." The saleswomen exchanged worried glances, fearing what would come next. The humiliated farmer's revenge was now their greatest concern. "First rule, in this store all people will be welcome and treated with respect, regardless of their appearance," she declared, looking directly at Ashley and Brooke. "This includes farmers, fishermen, local artisans, and anyone who enters through that door." The saleswomen remained silent, their gazes lowered. Kevin Thompson, the manager, seemed about to protest, but restrained himself. The situation was unprecedented for all of them. "Second rule," she continued, "the prices of the pieces will no longer be mentioned with the purpose of intimidating clients. Prices are information, not exclusion tools." She paused, observing the employee's reaction. The initial shock was beginning to give way to a growing discomfort. "As for you," she said, specifically addressing the saleswomen, "I have a decision to make." Ashley closed her eyes, anticipating the worst. Brooke nervously squeezed her hands. Both expected to be fired right there in front of the manager and Ethan. "I could easily dismiss you now," she continued with a calm voice. "It would be the expected outcome, wouldn't it? The perfect revenge for the humiliation I suffered." Though. Silence became even heavier. Kevin looked from Emily to the saleswomen, trying to assess the direction of the situation. "However," she proceeded, to everyone's surprise, "I believe in second chances. We all make mistakes. The question is, are we willing to learn from them?" Ashley opened her eyes, incredulous. Brooke raised her gaze, confused by this turn of events. "So, we're not going to be fired?" Ashley risked with a trembling voice. "That will depend on you," Emily responded. "I'm willing to give you an opportunity to prove that you can change, but you'll have to work under new conditions." Emily then explained her plan. The Elegance boutique would maintain its quality and sophistication, but would adopt an inclusion policy. Additionally, a portion of the profit would be directed toward a professional training program for local community women. "What do you think about this, Kevin?" she asked, after finalizing her explanation. "As manager, your experience will be valuable in implementing these changes." Kevin Thompson, gradually recovering from the initial shock, cleared his throat before responding. "Well, Mrs. Taylor, I confess that these are significant changes, but I recognize that our current model hasn't been as profitable as we expected," he admitted, adjusting his tie. "Perhaps a more inclusive approach might actually expand our clientele." Ashley and Brooke exchanged surprised looks. They didn't expect the manager to consider the proposal so quickly. "Excellent," smiled Emily. "Now, ladies, what? How about you? Are you willing to adapt to this new philosophy?" There was a moment of hesitation. Brooke was the first to speak. I accept the opportunity, Mrs. Taylor," she said with a low voice. "And I apologize for how I treated you last week. It was unforgivable." Ashley, always more proud, took a bit longer to pronounce herself. "I also accept," she said finally, her face blushing with shame. "And I also apologize. I was prejudiced and cruel." Emily nodded, satisfied with the sincerity she detected in both their words. "Then it's decided. Everyone will remain in their positions, but with a new approach. Ethan will prepare the new contracts and necessary documentation." In the weeks that followed, the transformation of the Elegance boutique surprised everyone in Millbrook. Without compromising the quality and refinement of the pieces, the store became known for its welcoming and inclusive service. Emily, balancing her time between the farm and the boutique, supervised the changes with attention to detail. The true test, however, came a month later. It was market day in the town, and farmers from the region converged on the historic center. Among them Martha Oliveira, a dairy producer from a property neighboring Aurora Farm. Martha, a 60-year-old woman with grey hair and hands calloused by a lifetime of work, stopped in front of the elegant storefront. She curiously observed the emerald green dress displayed on the central mannequin, perfect for her granddaughter's wedding, which would happen the following month. After a few minutes of contemplation, she timidly pushed the door and entered. Ashley, who was organizing some pieces near the entrance, turned at the sound of the bell. For a moment, her old look would have evaluated and dismissed that simple client. But something had changed in her. With a genuine smile, she approached. "Good. Morning, ma'am. Can I help you?" Martha hesitated, clearly uncomfortable in that sophisticated environment. "I was looking at that green dress in the window for my granddaughter's wedding," she explained with some shyness. "But it must be very expensive, right?" Ashley smiled again. "It's a beautiful piece, isn't it? Would you like to try it on? We have several sizes available." Martha widened her eyes, surprised by the warm reception. "But I'm not dressed appropriately and—" "That doesn't matter," Ashley interrupted gently. "What matters is how you'll feel on your granddaughter's special day." In the back of the store, observing the scene through the partially open office, Hador Emily smiled, satisfied. The transformation was not just of the boutique or its employees, it was a cultural change that began there, but that she hoped to see spread throughout the community. That same afternoon, while accompanying Martha to the door, now a boutique customer with the green dress carefully wrapped in an elegant box, Ashley felt something different. A genuine satisfaction she had never experienced in years of sales based on exclusion and elitism. "You know," said Martha before leaving, "I never thought I'd enter a store like this. I always passed by on the sidewalk, thinking places like this weren't for people like me." "Things have changed," Ashley responded with a sincere smile, "and for the better." When Martha left, Ashley turned and met Emily's gaze, who was now at the office door. There was a silent understanding between them, a lesson learned, a complete transformation. At the end of that month, the Elegance Boutique registered its best financial result since its inauguration. Kevin Thompson, analyzing the numbers with Emily and Ethan, did not hide his surprise. "I never imagined that inclusion could be so profitable," he admitted, examining the sales graphs. "It's not just about profit, Kevin," Emily responded. "It's about building a community where everyone feels they belong, regardless of what they possess or how they dress." Ethan smiled, proud of his friend who, instead of using her power for revenge, had chosen to transform a negative experience into something positive for the entire city. On the night of the 30th anniversary celebration of the Coffee Producers Association, Emily surprised everyone. Wearing an elegant golden dress acquired from her own boutique, she went up to the stage to receive an award of recognition for her contribution to the sector. In her speech, she did not mention the incident at the store or her subsequent acquisition of the establishment. Instead, she spoke about the importance of breaking down barriers and building bridges in the community. "We are all part of this land," she said, looking at the diverse audience that included everything from small producers to politicians and businessmen, "and it is only through mutual respect that we can prosper together." After the ceremony, Emily was approached by Ashley and Brooke, who had been invited to the event. Both seemed nervous but determined. "We would like to thank you," said Brooke with sincerity, "not just for keeping our jobs, but for teaching us a lesson we will carry through life." "A lesson about humility and respect," completed Ashley. "You could have sought revenge, but you chose to educate. That changed our lives." Emily smiled, touched by the genuine evolution she saw in the two women. "The best lessons are those that transform us from within," she responded simply. "And now, you have the opportunity to pass this lesson forward with each customer you serve." In the following months, the Elegance Boutique became a model of inclusive business in the region. Other establishments began to follow its example, creating a more welcoming and diverse commercial environment in Millbrook. Sitting on the veranda of her farm, contemplating the sunset over the coffee fields, Emily reflected on how a humiliating experience had transformed into something so significant. It wasn't just about a store or about revenge. It was about changing perspectives, breaking paradigms, and building a community where everyone could feel valued. And that, she concluded with a serene smile, was worth much more than any designer dress could cost. Dear listeners, we hope that Emily Taylor's story and her transformative journey of overcoming challenges in Millbrook has touched your hearts. To continue this emotional journey, we have prepared a special playlist with equally captivating stories. Find it by clicking to the left. If you enjoyed this narrative about respect and transformation, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. Every day we bring unique stories that explore the complexity of life and the power of change. We look forward to your comments.